I almost clocked the bastard right there behind the school dumpsters when I caught him. Mr. Perry, my daughter's teacher, mouth to mouth with my wife, Rebecca. Her hands all over him like some desperate teenager at prom. And all the while, my little girl was sitting out front, backpack in her lap, looking up the road, waiting for her mom to show up and take her home. The rage hit me like a freight train. My vision narrowed to a dark tunnel with Perry's face at the end of it. I could feel my pulse hammering in my temples, my fingers already curling into a fist so tight my wedding ring cut into the flesh. The metal band that suddenly felt like a fucking joke. They didn't see me at first. Too busy with his tongue down her throat, his hands sliding up under her blouse, that blue silk one I bought her for our anniversary. The one she told me she was saving for special occasions. Guess this qualified. I stood there, frozen, watching my wife arch her back against the dirty brick wall like some cheap porno. The dumpster beside them overflowed with milk cartons and half-eaten lunches, the stench of garbage hanging in the afternoon air while they rutted like animals. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Daddy? Where's Mommy? She was supposed to pick me up an hour ago. My daughter's voice pulled me back from the edge of something terrible. Something I couldn't undo. Sweetheart, I managed, my voice sounding distant and hollow even to my own ears. I'll be right there. Wait by the front office. She waited. And waited. Until she finally gave up and called me. Good thing, too. Because if I hadn't answered that call, if I hadn't had my daughter's voice in my ear pulling me back, I'm not sure I wouldn't have left two bodies bleeding behind that damn school. Instead, I swallowed the rage. Hard. Like broken glass going down my throat. I tasted copper, realized I'd bitten the inside of my cheek until it bled. I stepped back into the shadows when they finally broke apart, watching Rebecca check her lipstick in her compact mirror while Perry straightened his tie and whispered something that made her giggle. Fucking giggle. Like a schoolgirl with her first crush. I slipped away before they could spot me. Walked around the building with mechanical steps, my mind already calculating, already planning, even as my body moved on autopilot. Emma was sitting alone on a bench outside the front office, her small purple backpack clutched to her chest, dark blonde hair, just like her mother's, falling across her face. 8 years old and already learning that people let you down. Already learning that sometimes the ones who are supposed to love you most are the ones who hurt you worst. Hey, pumpkin, I said, forcing a smile that felt like it might crack my face in half. Sorry about the mix-up. She looked up, relief washing over her features. Is Mommy okay? The question hit me like a punch to the gut. Was Mommy okay? Oh, she was just fucking fine, sweetheart. Having the time of her life with your teacher while you sat here alone. She got held up, I said instead. Let's get you home. Picked up my daughter. Drove home. Kept my hands steady on the wheel while my mind spun like a hurricane. Emma chattered about her day from the back seat. Something about a science project and how Mr. Perry had praised her work in front of the whole class. How he was the best teacher ever. How lucky she was to have him. Each word was another twist of the knife. I nodded at all the right moments, made all the right sounds of interest, all while imagining Perry's face smashed into the concrete. Is Mr. Perry coming to the science fair on Friday? I asked casually, watching her reaction in the rearview mirror. Aha. He's one of the judges. She beamed. He told me my volcano has a real chance of winning first place. I bet he did. Probably told her mother the same thing. Though I doubted they were talking about volcanoes. And somewhere between that school parking lot and my front door, a plan started to take shape. See, Mr. Perry wasn't just some lowlife looking for a cheap thrill. He was a respected teacher. Favorite among parents. Golden boy at the PTA meetings. Hell, he was even in the running for a promotion to vice principal next year. James Perry. 35. Former college baseball player turned elementary school educator. The kind of guy who wore sweater vests and had all the soccer moms bringing him homemade cookies and offering to help out in the classroom. The kind of guy who volunteered at charity events and coached Little League on weekends. The kind of guy who could fuck another man's wife behind a dumpster and still get Teacher of the Year. Our house was empty when we arrived. No sign of Rebecca. No note. No text. "When's mommy coming home?" Emma asked as I made her a sandwich for dinner. "Soon," I lied, slicing the crusts off the way she liked. "She's got that book club tonight, remember?" The book club. Right. That's what Rebecca had been calling it for the past 3 months. Tuesday and Thursday nights, sometimes Saturday afternoons. Always coming home with that flushed look, that slightly mussed hair. Never wanting to talk about what they'd read. I'd been so fucking blind. After Emma went to bed, I sat in the dark living room, nursing a glass of whiskey, waiting. The digital clock on the cable box flipped to 10:47 p.m. when headlights swept across the front window. Keys in the door. Rebecca's perfume, stronger now than when she'd left that morning, filled the entryway. "Oh." She startled when she saw me sitting there. "You scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark?" I took another sip, letting the burn crawl down my throat. "Good book." "What?" She set down her purse, removed her coat. That blue silk blouse was slightly wrinkled now. "Book club. Was it a good book tonight?" She hesitated just a fraction too long. "Oh. Yes. We're reading that new thriller everyone's talking about. The one about the woman with amnesia." "Sounds fascinating." I knocked back the rest of my drink. Almost as fascinating as watching my wife make out with my daughter's teacher behind the school dumpsters. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. For a moment, one brief, satisfying moment, I saw a raw panic in her eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by something harder. Defensive. Calculating. "I don't know what you're talking about." Her voice was steady, but her hands weren't. They fluttered at her sides like trapped birds. "Don't insult me by lying, Rebecca. Not now." She switched tactics instantly. Tears welled up in her eyes, those pretty blue eyes that had once made my heart race. Now they just made my stomach turn. "It's not what you think. James and I." "James?" I laughed, the sound sharp enough to cut. "You're fucking my daughter's teacher, and you want to talk to me about how it's not what I think? While Emma sat alone for an hour waiting for you?" That hit home. A flash of genuine shame crossed her face. I lost track of time. "I was going to tell you." "When?" "After you fucked him. After Emma started calling him Daddy. Or were you planning to wait until his promotion came through? Because that's what this is about, isn't it? Vice Principal Perry and his shiny new office. And Rebecca? She always loved attaching herself to men with shiny futures. Never mind if she had to crawl through a little filth to get there. I'd seen it before. When we met, I was the up-and-comer at my firm. Young lawyer with partner potential. She'd latched on fast, played the supportive wife role to perfection. Then I'd hit a plateau. Passed over for partner twice. Suddenly, her supportive act had cracks in it. "You don't understand," she whispered, tears streaming now. "You haven't been there for me. For us. Always working, always distracted." Classic Rebecca. Twist it around. Make it my fault that she couldn't keep her legs closed. "Save it," I said, standing up. The room spun a little from the whiskey. "I'm not interested in your excuses. What I am interested in is what happens next." Fear flickered across her face. "What does that mean?" I smiled, and from her expression, it wasn't a pleasant sight. "It means you're going to go upstairs, sleep in the guest room, and tomorrow, you're going to act like everything is normal. For Emma's sake." And then what? And then we'll see. They thought they were untouchable. They thought wrong. I played it cool for the next week. Went to work. Came home. Made small talk with Rebecca that felt like speaking across a minefield. Helped Emma with her science project. All while I gathered my ammunition. First, I dug. Quietly. Thoroughly. I started with Rebecca's phone. She'd always been careless with it, leaving it charging in the kitchen while she showered, setting it down while she cooked dinner. The passcode was Emma's birthday. Predictable. What I found made me sick. Hundreds of texts going back months. Photos that burned my eyes. Detailed plans for quickies between classes, in his car, once even in the supply closet during a PTA meeting I'd attended. Can't wait to feel you inside me again, she'd written just hours after I'd taken her out for our anniversary dinner. The way you taste drives me crazy, he'd replied while I was tucking my daughter into bed, reading her a story about a princess who gets rescued by a knight. Some knight. Emails. Secret social media accounts. Late-night texts that didn't line up with Rebecca's book club meetings. I found a burner email account she'd created just for him. Love letters that made me want to vomit, interspersed with practical details about how they'd build their life after she left me. Once the promotion comes through, I'll have enough saved to help with the divorce, Perry had written. You deserve so much better than him, Becca. Becca. He called her Becca. Even I didn't call her that. But the real gold mine came when I started looking into Perry himself. The golden boy had a few tarnished spots if you knew where to look. A former student from his previous school had made vague allegations that had been quickly hushed up. Nothing solid enough for charges, but enough to make him switch districts. Social media comments from teenage girls that walked the line between admiration and infatuation. The way he singled out certain students for special attention. Perry's private conversations with students that, while not illegal, sounded a hell of a lot like grooming if you twisted the context just right. Messages to a 7th grade girl about how mature she was for her age. Comments on a 9th grader's Instagram photos that no teacher had any business making. Nothing explicitly sexual, but suggestive enough in the right light. And the cherry on top, Perry had a habit of discussing his marital problems with female students who came to him for guidance. Building that trust. That special bond. All documented in emails and private message threads that a decent computer tech could recover. I was no tech genius, but I knew a guy who was. Cost me $500 and a bottle of Macallan 18, but worth every penny for the digital dirt he dug up. Then I packaged it all together, a neat little bomb made of screenshots, video clips, and anonymous tips. 3 manila envelopes. Each one stuffed with printouts, a USB drive, and a cover letter outlining my concerns as a parent. I dropped one package at the school board office. Left it with the secretary while she was on a coffee break. By the time she returned, I was already in the parking lot, watching through the window as she opened it, her eyes widening with each page she turned. One at the local newspaper. The Westlake Chronicle wasn't exactly the New York Times, but they were hungry for anything that would sell papers in a town where the biggest news was usually the high school football score. I addressed it to a reporter who'd done a series on ethics in local government last year. The kind who fancied himself an investigative journalist trapped in a small town. And one, just for good measure, at the desk of Perry's wife. That one was the most satisfying. I knew her schedule from Rebecca's texts. Knew she worked late on Wednesdays at the hospital where she was a nurse. Knew the house would be empty except for the teenage babysitter watching their kids. Hi there, I smiled at the pimple-faced kid who answered the door. I'm a colleague of James's. He asked me to drop off some important papers for Diane to look at tonight. The kid shrugged, took the envelope. Whatever, man. I'll put it on the counter. The fallout was beautiful. I wish I could say I planned the timing perfectly, but sometimes the universe just hands you a gift. The board meeting was scheduled for Thursday evening, the same night the paper went to print. And by coincidence or fate, it was also the night of the science fair. By Thursday morning, the first tremors were already being felt. Perry was called to the principal's office during first period. Rebecca's phone was blowing up with texts from him, texts I read over her shoulder while pretending to make coffee. Someone knows. They're asking questions. Don't contact me until I figure this out. The panic in her eyes was delicious. The science fair that evening was a masterpiece of uncomfortable tension. Perry was there, as promised, but ashen-faced and jumpy. His wife had shown up too, unusual, according to the gossip at the punch bowl, and was watching him like a hawk from across the gymnasium. Rebecca kept trying to catch his eye, but he was studiously avoiding her. Smart man. Too little, too late. Emma's volcano won second place. Perry could barely look at her when he handed her the ribbon. Congratulations, Emma, he mumbled, his eyes darting around the room. Very impressive work. I put my arm around my daughter's shoulders and smiled directly into his face. She gets her brains from her mother, I said, loud enough for several nearby parents to hear. Though these days, I'm not sure that's a compliment. His eyes widened. He knew. He knew that I knew. And he was terrified. I left the science fair early, claiming a work emergency. In reality, I drove straight to the convenience store on Main Street, bought a copy of the Westlake Chronicle hot off the press, and savored the headline over a cup of terrible coffee in my car. School board investigating teacher misconduct allegations. The article didn't name Perry directly, not yet, but it mentioned a male teacher at Westlake Elementary and inappropriate relationships. It was enough. In a town this size, rumors traveled faster than light. By the end of the week, Mr. Perry was suspended pending investigation. The board didn't want the bad press, so they tossed him under the bus before he could even beg for mercy. Perry's wife threw his sorry ass out onto the curb, dragging their 2 kids behind her. I heard through the grapevine that she'd found some particularly explicit texts between him and Rebecca, including plans for a weekend getaway they'd scheduled during a school camping trip he was supposed to chaperone. As for Rebecca, she knew the jig was up but couldn't figure out how it had all unraveled so quickly. She alternated between panic and damage control, between tearful apologies to me in private and desperate attempts to salvage her reputation in public. We need to talk, she cornered me in the kitchen 3 days after the science fair. About us. About moving forward. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd once loved enough to promise forever to. Now all I saw was a stranger wearing my wife's face. There is no us to talk about, I said. And the only moving forward will be you, out of this house. You can't just throw away 12 years of marriage. Her voice rose, hysteria creeping in at the edges. What about Emma? What about our family? I laughed. Actually laughed in her face. You should have thought about our family when you were fucking Perry behind the dumpsters while our daughter waited alone. It was a mistake. A terrible, awful mistake. I'll do anything to fix this. Counseling, therapy. Too late, I cut her off. Way too late. The PTA meeting was scheduled for Tuesday. A special session to address the recent unfortunate events at the school. Rebecca, desperate to salvage what was left of her social standing, insisted on attending. Probably thought she could spin some tale about being manipulated by Perry, play the victim card. I let her think I wasn't going. Told her I had to work late. Then showed up just as the meeting was reaching its climax, the board president solemnly addressing the concerned parents about their commitment to creating a safe environment for all students. Rebecca was sitting near the front, nodding earnestly, the perfect picture of a concerned parent. She didn't see me enter through the side door. Didn't see me nod to the process server I'd hired, a retired cop who owed me a favor from a case I'd handled years ago. I served her divorce papers right in front of the whole damn PTA meeting, just as she was trying to sweet-talk her way onto the event committee. The look on her face, that brittle, panicked smile cracking into pure horror, was almost worth everything she cost me. "Rebecca Matthews?" The process server's voice boomed across the suddenly silent room. "I have legal documents for you." Every head turned. Every eye watched as the large manila envelope was placed in her trembling hands. "You've been served," he announced, loud enough for the back row to hear. Then, with a nod to me, he walked out. I stood there, hands in my pockets, as she ripped open the envelope. Watched the blood drain from her face as she realized what it was. Divorce papers, citing adultery, naming Perry specifically. Requesting full custody of Emma. And featuring several choice screenshots as exhibits. Someone in the back of the room gasped. Then the whispers started, spreading like wildfire. Rebecca stared at me, mouth opening and closing like a landed fish. For once in her life, she had absolutely nothing to say. I turned and walked out without a word, the weight I'd been carrying for weeks suddenly lifted from my shoulders. She lost her family, her reputation, and whatever sad little fantasy life she thought she was building. The divorce was quick and brutal. Rebecca didn't contest anything, couldn't, not with the evidence I had. She moved in with her sister 2 towns over. Perry left the state entirely after the board formally terminated him, his teaching career in shambles. I heard he's selling cars in Ohio now. From shaping young minds to pushing undercoating packages on retirees. Life comes at you fast when you think with your dick. Rebecca still sees Emma every other weekend. Supervised visits only, per the court order. Turns out those texts where she joked about taking Emma and starting a new life with Perry somewhere, free of all this small-town bullshit, were enough to convince the judge she was a flight risk. Me. I kept the only thing that mattered, my daughter. And I made damn sure she would never again wait for a mother who cared more about a cheap thrill than her own child. Sometimes Emma asks why Mommy and Mr. Perry had to go away. Why everyone at school whispers when we walk by. Why her friends' parents look at us with that mixture of pity and morbid fascination. I tell her that adults make mistakes sometimes. Big ones. That actions have consequences. What I don't tell her is how good those consequences felt. How watching them burn gave me a satisfaction so deep it scared me a little. How I still sometimes drive by Perry's old house at night, just to see it dark and empty and for sale by owner. Some people might call it cruel. Vindictive. Say I should have handled it privately, with dignity. Fuck that. They took my dignity when they rutted like animals behind that dumpster. They took my trust when they plotted their futures over my daughter's head. They took pieces of me I'm never getting back. So I took everything from them. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat.